In October and November, people observe the olive trees and the weather forecast with great expectations in the Italian countryside. This is the time of the olive harvest, and sometimes it's not very easy to get a good weather for these days. Finally, we were lucky with the weather, but locals still worried a bit whether the trees would get dry in time after the rains before our arrival. We could check out the process in which the olives get to the presses from the trees in two different regions. In Tuscany, we stayed at the Casa Vecchia La Piazza farm, and in Liguria, in the Cinque Terre, we could admire the view or the workload of the locals on the hills above Manarola. But before we start, here's a piece of advice. Even if it's tempting, it's not worth tasting the olives from the trees.
They are tempting because they're like cherries. You see them on the tree and you pick one and taste it and it's not good.
Although the Chianti and the Cinque Terre regions are only 150 kilometers away, their olive oils show big differences, mainly because of the different climate, soil and the altitude. Gabriele arrived at the Chianti region 24 years ago with his wife as a young agronomist. They left a small apartment in Naples for this 20-hectare farm, where now they have a vineyard of 8 hectares and 600 olive trees. He mainly produces Chianti Classico wine and a small amount of olive oil, but with an excellent quality. It is only 8–15% of the harvest that finally becomes an extra virgin olive oil.
This, for example, is the frantoio in the area they call the Correggiolo, and is more green, and you can see it's not round but a little bit oblunga. The other variety is Moraiolo, normally have a less production and is dark and round, and the quality of the oil, the taste of the oil normally is a little bit different. In this is more sweet, in the other is more fruity, fresh, spicy. There is also another one that is this, il Leccino. Is dark, the oil is more similar to the Moraiolo.
For us, it's very important to harvest when the olives are not mature. The major reason is the level of acidity. When any fruit, when it's not ripened, when it's not big and it's less juicy, it has less pulp, but it's more fresh and fruity and a little greenish in the flavor, and it has a lower level of acidity. Our olive oil, in fact, compared to the olive oils even from Cinque Terre or other areas, it's a little more spicy and peppery in the flavor, a little greenish in the taste. And it's mainly obtained by this anticipation of the harvest time.
In the Cinque Terre, everybody makes the oil themselves because of the small lands they own. Cesare, who runs his own restaurant in Manarola, uses some of his own oil while cooking, but he mainly buys the different flavored oils from other producers. He grows Leccino, Razzola and Taggiasca types, and he mixes the DOP oil that is produced under the designation of origin. They don't even use the small harvest machine that we saw in Tuscany.
La lavorazione a mano la facciamo per comodità, perché con la macchina bisognerebbe stendere le reti, mettere prima tutte le reti, poi sbattere, le olive saltano a destra e a sinistra. Un altro è che, secondo me, la macchina un pochettino rovina anche la pianta, l'olivo, la stressa un po'.
It's quite hard to cultivate the land in the Cinque Terre because it's a high land. There are hills and mountains, so there are terraces where they cultivate it, and they have the olives, the olive gardens and the grapes, the vineyards right here. So to carry the tools, the grapes, the olives, they had to find out something. And this is a small train which is called trenino, like small train in Italian, and they have like 40 lines among the lands. The sooner the fresh harvest gets to the olive presses, the better the outcome is. Gabriele and the locals bring the fruit to San Stefano di Magra. Cesare brings the harvest to La Spezia, 40 kilometers from Manarola, every second and third day during the harvest. By the evening, several families gather around the press machines and weigh their own oil with excitement. During the process, leaves and twigs are separated from the fruit, Then the olives are washed several times and then go to the press, where the seeds and the pulp is ground. Then the oil is extracted from the paste by centrifugation that can be filtered before bottling if needed. Families celebrate the tasting of the fresh oil with big parties.
C'è una grande cena, usiamo l'olio fresco, nuovo del frantoio, facciamo la bruschetta, pane sul fuoco ardente, poi mettiamo un po' di aglio e mettiamo su olio nuovo, poi facciamo polenta e mangiamo così. Buon vino Chianti, doc.
The factory near La Spezia produces a much bigger amount, and it is the only press nearby that recycles the unused 80–85% of the harvest. Owners come from as far as 10–15 kilometers and pay €22 after each 100 kilos of olives, and the press processes 20,000 kilograms of olives a day. The olive oil made here is softer and sweeter than the one in Tuscany or in the south of Italy, so it is used mainly for seafood.
Usually we make in the good harvest, we work 5–6 days each week. We make at least 70 customers, private customers or society. Private people takes very small quantity here to produce their own oil for their house. So means that they keep here from 150 kilos minimum, this is minimum for working, to a maximum of 500–600 kilos. While the society, the aziende agricole, the farmer, brings here more than 500, 600, 700 each time.
The taste of the oil when the olives are just pressed, which what we call the new oil, it's only now, and we wait for this moment to come every year, and we love it. It's just unique. The flavor lasts for the whole year, but the intensity and the special characteristic that you have when the oil is just pressed is just magic.